Hello everybody, this is SlickRick441 here with another game analysis video of a game that I just played, I want to say 10 minutes ago with a fellow player named Upward. Both of us are experienced players, probably played several hundred games combined between us, and we know the game inside and out, and this game that I'm showing you was a very solid game between the both of us. And it was such great of a game that I thought I'd make a video analysis of it, and I really hope you enjoy. We shared passwords at the end, and I am playing the Shadow, starting with Denethor's Folly and Grand, whereas the Free People start with the Grey Company and Swords and Eriador. So let's jump right into it. I started with one eye in the box, and the Fellowship rolled two characters, whereas I rolled three musters, which is always good to see. And the Free People uses their Palantir to proc Gandalf the Grey's ability with Swords and Erebor, so he can recruit some units in the northwest and then draw two cards. And then he draws, and this is a pretty crazy thing about this game. Look at the two cards he just drew. He drew the Red Arrow and the Spirit of Mordor, both Scouts cards. So he'll be able to evade my attacks in the future. I go ahead and bring Isengard to war. Now, I would also like to say here, this is actually pretty funny. In the end, this ended up being a 14-turn game, but when we started this game, it was like, hey, we should play a quick game. We don't have that much time. Little did we know what we had in store. Anyway, so the Fellowship starts moving, safe. I draw a card as the Shadow with my only Palantir since Denethor's Folly and Grand are unable to be played. I use my character to move out of Barad-dûr and into Minas Morgul, which is not typical. Typically, that 5-unit army goes into Mornon, so you can fully get a 21 health army out of Mordor if you're going all into Gondor. But since I have Grand and Denethor, in my mind I was thinking maybe I'll just beeline it to Minas Tirith and we're going to see what happens. So once I did that, he kind of see what I was going to be able to do, so he brings Gondor one closer to war, which is smart. Then I bring in Saruman, and then he rolls. He moves and is safe, so his first two movements were good. Another thing about this game, in the end, there was neither of us, were really unlucky or super lucky. I think in the end, the statistics ended up being very, very average, and so that's why I said it's a solid game, because there wasn't any crazy swingy moments. And then I used my last hybrid die to bring Sauron to war. And I do this because it's not guaranteed that I'm gonna get a muster next turn, and I could have moved my my units from Minas Morgul towards Osgiliath, but chances are that I'm gonna get some characters and movements next turn, but it's not guaranteed I'll get a muster. So that's why I brought him to war right away. Alright, so we get a turn 2. The Shadow, myself, we get Cruel Weather, and the Shadow lengthens, and the Free People get Grimbeorn and the Horn. And now look at this. They have all 3 Scouts cards on turn 2. Crazy stuff. So, we allocate one eye, and then both of us roll, and I'm very happy I brought Sauron to war because I did not get any musters and a heck of a lot of attacks, so I will be able to infiltrate Gondor here. The Free People has a really good role as well, a will to get Gandalf if they are able to get him out of the Fellowship. Okay, so yeah, they just start moving, and right away they get revealed. It is a 1 reveal, so it's kind of rough to take Gandalf to a 1. But hey, if you can get Gandalf on turn 2, it's always the way to do it, in my opinion. So that's what they do. That's what Upward does, and they get revealed into Moria, which is also not great. And we draw 3 as well. Random is taken Boromir, so at least the unlucky tile draws are brought back with some lucky random companions, brought up to 1 corruption. I start moving armies. I bring my 5-unit army Ara Mornon. I'm thinking of bringing my 10-stack unit in Minas Morgul and then the 5-unit army from Mornon. I think those 16 health total army there will be enough to take Minas Tirith. And then since I see he doesn't have a movement die, a hybrid die, and I know he's going to use the will to bring in Gandalf, I'm thinking maybe I can get my units into Old Forest Road before he can move his single unit from Karak over. Brings in Gandalf. I go ahead and move my units towards Osgiliath. They pass, and then yeah, I start using my character dies to start attacking Osgiliath. And so now I will, if I had a muster die, I could bring in the Witch King on turn 2, but that's alright. And of course, I do not get any hits in Osgiliath and none back, so it is what it is. But they got one muster, able to perfectly put a unit in Minas Tirith. But now what I'm thinking is I have 3 attacks and just enough to actually get into Dol Amroth. So I'm sacrificing putting my units into the Old Forest Road for getting into Dol Amroth without there being any extra musters. So we go ahead into attacking Osgiliath into Peligir, and I'm just thinking to myself, well, you know, since he didn't use scouts when I attacked into Osgiliath, he probably doesn't have scouts when I'm attacking Peligir. But now, you know, looking back on it after the fact, I would imagine that he didn't play scouts in Osgiliath because he had that one muster, and I don't think he would have even retreated them into Minas Tirith in the first place. So I chose to use a combat card here. I didn't use a combat card when attacking into Osgiliath, but I do use a combat card attacking into Peligir. I use a Desperate Battle, and I put it to waste as they have scouts scouting into Lambadon. And of course, we continue the trudge forward to Dol Amroth, and we attack into Lambadon, and bam, the second scouts. And I say, wow. Turn 2 and you have 2 scouts. What are the chances? And he's got 6 units in Dol Amroth. And you know what? That is okay. I'm pretty sure we can take that army down with the 11 health army that I'm bringing in. And yeah, he puts one of those regulars back into the reinforcements so he can go under siege. Alright, he uses his last character to hide, and I use the Palantir to actually draw cards. So yeah, let's the cards that I currently have right now were Shadow Lengthens, can't use that, can't use Delthor's Folly, can't use Grond because the Witch King isn't in play yet. And of course we're not using Cruel Weather right now because they're inside Moria. So yeah, I had to use that last Palantir. And I used it last in case he used a ring for any reason. I could have used it before my other attacks and such, but such is life. Alright, we head on to the next turn. And I allocate 2 eyes for this turn 3 because the Fellowship is in Moria. Well, there's a unit there, so there's a guaranteed 2 rerolls, and so I'm not going to take a chance of just putting 1 eye and hoping I'll roll another eye. So yeah, and that is exactly what happens here. I put in 2 eyes and I don't roll any other eyes, so it's kind of the perfect outcome, to be honest. Unfortunately, though, he is able to get his unit into Old Forest Road. You know, it's not the end of the world, but I hate to see it from the Shadows perspective. Oh, and also, check this out. These cards that we drew going into turn 3, I drew the Balrog of Moria right as the Fellowship is inside Moria, so love to see it. And I'm happy he did not move first thing this turn, because if he was, you know, moved and got revealed, my Balrog of Moria card would not have been useful. What did the Fellowship draw? Elven Ropes and a Power Too Great. Yeah, that's the first thing I do with Palantir. I play the Balrog of Moria, and they move right away, but they're safe. And now I bring in the Witch King, bring him straight to Dol Amroth. I'm thinking, hey, you know, let's do this quick before they draw into Imrahil, or bring the Elves to war for the Círdan's ships. And then they use a muster to bring the north down closer to war, which is interesting. I guess since they moved that one unit to the Old Forest Road, they're going to prepare to protect the Dew Line. What else could you have done with that muster? You could have put in a unit in Minas Tirith or Lazarnark. That would have been an idea. Or you could put an extra leadership in Minas Tirith and a regular in Lazarnark. I probably would have done that. But, bring the North closer to war is also a fine move. Since I have these extra musters, I don't want to muster units anywhere, so I bring the Southrons closer to war. And then we attack Dol Amroth with a regular army die, trying to do a swift military advance here. And I choose a card. It is a Deadly Strife. And we get 4 hits. They get 4 back, which is okay. And then we press. And I play a Relentless Assault. Because I have 6 units here, I don't plan on marching this army back out. So I thought, hey, you know what? If we take 1 unit here and have a 5-unit army remaining, that'll probably be just fine. And also, in my opinion, with Relentless Assault, I always think it's best, unless, you have no leadership or something, I really do think it's best, or if you have lots of units to spare, I think just 1 hit is best, because once you take 1 hit, hitting on 5s are great, and then if you take another hit to hit on 4s, the value of the hit kind of goes down if you get 2 hits. But you know what? It's all based on what you're doing. In this case, I think just 1 unit, just to take 1 regular out, will definitely do the trick. And that it does. Take out Dol Amroth, get to 3 points pretty early on in the game, and then upward brings the elves down 1 on the track. And let's see here. Yeah, I move my units from North Athelion into Osgiliath and Far Harad to Near Harad. I need to get Minas Tirith under siege sooner than later because they are at war and he can start mustering units. I'm surprised he didn't use his musters to do that sooner. And they play Power Too Great. And he plays this, and in my mind I'm thinking, well, maybe this will just be a game where we don't go after Lorien, Grey Havens, or Rivendell, and so I won't have to spend a die to remove a Power Too Great. And, So, I start moving my units. I take my Easterlings from South Rune to East Rune, and then I also take 3 units from Osgiliath into Lazarnark because I don't want him mustering anything there so that I have to attack there. That would be inefficient. And the main reason I do this is because I have the Shadow Lengthens, and so I'm going to perfectly take this 8-unit army into Osgiliath to get a perfect 10 units there. So that should be good. And we go on to turn 4. Okay. So you love to see it, but I draw Coursers of Umbar here, so maybe that initial Gondor siege wasn't for the best, but heck, here we are. And then my opponent gets King Brandsman and Dead Men of Dunharrow. Okay, so let's see what happens. Fellowship goes ahead and declares out of Moria, so we do a little bit of a Balrog action. We draw 2. I'm getting pretty lucky on these Moria tiles. The first one was a 3, this one was a 2. Luckily no eyes are drawn, but he just tanks it. 1 to 3. Roll, and look at that. That is 5 eyes in the box. You'd hate to see it. The Fellowship goes ahead and brings the elves to war, which is interesting. I've already taken Dol Amroth, so Círdan's ships. I mean, in my mind, I have no idea what cards he has, but as you can see here, he has the Grey Company, Dead Men of John. Actually, I don't know. I'm thinking right now he has Círdan's ships, but he doesn't. So this is an interesting play. I guess he is just trying to protect the Woodland Realm, because right now I could attack into Old Forest Road and then attack into the Woodland Realm. But this, bringing the elves to war right now, allows him to put an elite in the Woodland Realm before I'm able to get in. So at max, he could actually muster in 2 units if he used a ring. Well, let's see what happens. So yeah, I go ahead and think, and then I bring the South, North, and Easternlings to war. So I don't attack in the Old Forest Road, right? So I'm not really pressing on the dew line, but he goes ahead and uses the Will of the West anyways. Maybe should have moved right away. I don't know. Because what else could you have used that will for? Moving isn't that great since there's 5 eyes in the box. But yeah, here we go. I just use the Shadow Lengthens. And I bring my units into Osgiliath. And then just from north through into East Rune. There really isn't any other armies that are 2 areas away to bring units to. So that's what we do. They play King Brandsman. So now the dew line is looking a little bit more buff. And then they draw into Círdan's ships. Alright, so you love to see it. Elves are at war. The thought here for the free people is you have Dead Men of Dunharrow, and you can use that to get into Peligir, Lamadon, and then use Círdan's ships to make up an army. I'm just predicting the future here. But yeah, I go ahead and attack Minas Tirith, following up with my plan. I take everybody out of Osgiliath. I always think when attacking Minas Tirith and Gondor in general, you want to make sure you watch out for Paths of the Woves. But as you can see right now, Rohan's not at war, so I'm not worried about that right now. And I think I am going to need that whole army to take out Minas Tirith because they have a full 5 stack. Fellowship moves. I get a hit, 5 dice, 2 reveal. So the hunt is going very well for the Shadow right now. The first 2 movements were good, but I believe the next 3 were all hits. Alright, takes a random, gets Gimli. So lucky again with the random companion. I was actually thinking before he moved that since I have Cruel Weather, if he wasn't revealed there, I would have potentially used Cruel Weather and pushed him back into Moria. And therefore, if he was to move at all again this turn, it would almost certainly get caught and potentially be revealed again. But since he was revealed there, that kind of throws that plan out the window. But it's not the end of the world because you want to keep on a Cruel Weather to make sure they don't get into Mordor quickly. But anyways, I just got 1 die left, the Palantir, and of all of the cards I have, I decided to play Denethor's Folly since I am currently on Minas Tirith, and it is more urgent to play Denethor's Folly than On They Went. Simply because, they're not close to Mordor just yet, so I can hold on to that if need be. Okay. And they go ahead and use their last character die to take Strider and a Hobbit, which Hobbit is it? Pippin, into Rohan. So when I see this, I immediately think Dead Men of Dunharrow from a Shadow's perspective. And he is going to go first next round. This is the downside of rolling 5 eyes is the free people have 2 actions in a row in between turns, and so there's not too much I can do to prepare for this. But I do have a good amount of armies in Gondor, so I may be able to handle this. Okay, so we go right on ahead and draw some cards. What do the free people draw? They draw a they drew Kindred of Glorfindel and an Ent card, and they actually end up killing both of them. They'd rather have everything else in here. Which is very cool. Alright, just 1 eye in the box. And the free people, they do not roll a Will of the West, so it's going to be hard to get Strider turned into Aragorn. Let's see what happens. They do the plan of Dead Menning into Peligir. If we look at Dead Men here, you can go into Eric, Lamadon, or Peligir. Yeah, okay. So I believe I played a game before. I thought you could potentially go into Lozernark, but no, it's just Eric, Lamadon, and Peligir. Good thing I didn't have any units in Peligir, or else they probably would have got killed. So here we are. As the shadow, I gotta deal with that. So what's the best way of dealing with that? What I decide is I don't want them retreating towards Mordor because I've got a bunch of empty strongholds there. I want to, kill this army as soon as I can. So this is what I do. I end up using a army die, and I move one unit from Umbar into West Harondor, and all but one of my Minas Tirith army back into Osgiliath. So now the free people cannot retreat back towards my strongholds, and if I were to attack them now from Osgiliath, they would have nowhere to retreat to. So they're basically forced now to move their army into Lambadon, which is what they do. And now I continue now. I'm sweating here a little bit because this is my last movement. I don't have any rings. I've got 4 musters and 2 palantirs left. But I'm thinking, well, I have a 5-stack army and my Witch King. I got 4 leadership here. Plus, if you look at my hand, I do have a Deadly Strife. I'm not going to use Corsairs of Umbar right now. Plus, the Free People has already played 2 scouts. So if I attack Lambadon right now, there's a really, really good chance I can kill that whole army. So that's what I do. I go ahead and I attack, and with my Deadly Strife, but bam, there it is, the 3rd scouts. All right, he drew all of them. So I'm kind of sad. I lost my Deadly Strife there, but Strider gets to live another day, and they retreat back into Peligir. And it's an interesting a thing to go back into Peligir. It's a smart move by my opponent because they know I don't have any movement. The only way I could attack into Peligir is if I had a card that lets me attack, like Ring Star Abroad or the Witch King, the Black Captain Commands. Unfortunately, I don't have those, and so they're kind of banking on getting a will next turn. And they have Círdan's ships, so they'll be able to retreat and do some shenanigans. And that is exactly what they do. So I draw my Witch King card because I was an attack with a Witch King. Draw Stormcrow. They go ahead and use Círdan's ships. Now they've got a Sizely army. And now what am I doing with all these musters? And I decide this is going to be an issue in Gondor. I am going to buff up Umbar to get some units. They play Horn of... Oh, so they decide to attack into Lazarnark, and they use a mighty attack so that they can get 1 auto hit. And they kill all 3 of them. Hate to see it, but here we are. I have no attacks, so I'm kind of struggling. I thought here, I attacked into Lambadon, they scouts out. I probably should have moved some units into Lambadon. It's kind of a mistake on my end, but in the end, it's good keeping your Dol Amroth army here in case they're trying to attack back or something. I continue mustering in Umbar, and they're passing, so now I've got another big army in Umbar. I think I put a single unit in Minas Morgul in case some military shenanigans start happening. Yeah, now I believe all of my Oliphants are out of the force pool. They're all either in Osgiliath or Umbar and East Rune. And now I'm left with 2 Palantirs, so I play On They Went. And they go ahead and hide the Fellowship. They could have attacked Minas Tirith here. That might have been a good idea. But they'll go first next turn, and so that they have a chance to do that here. And it's always good to keep the Fellowship moving. And then we have Return of the Witch King. I drew a card there because, yeah, Stormcrow, Threats and Promises, Gron, Cruel Weather, and Lidless Eye, none are replayable. Which is a little sad because now I'm going to have to draw 2 and discard 2. But it's okay, though, because Threats and Promises, I'm okay with discarding that right now, and also the Lidless Eye, I'm pretty okay with discarding that. So, we go on to turn 6. And the Fellowship goes right on ahead and attacks Minas Tirith. And they demolish my unit, but my 1 unit does get 1 hit back, which is good to see. And Denethor's Folly is also out of the board. So, yeah, Gondor, was looking really grim. And now they've got a 9-stack, 13 health army in Minas Tirith. I do have a sizable army in Osgiliath, but not strong enough to attack that Minas Tirith army. So I go ahead and I put some units in Gondor because I don't want him mustering there, and he's got a good force pool, and so I want to make sure that I cover my bases before I start doing any other shenanigans across the map. But right now, number one priority is Gondor. They go ahead and move the fellowship. You know, I rolled a lot of eyes again, but they are safe. We go again and start moving some units. Let's see, what do I do? I'm thinking, yeah, so I use a muster. So I right now, the 4 dice I had 2 musters, and it's always a good thing to use your musters before you move. You know, it's kind of a solid ground rule that I kind of have. Not all situations, because sometimes you want to rush into places sooner than later, but I want to hold out my attacks and kind of see what he does with his die, and I'll use my musters now. Yep, he goes ahead and gets a elite in Minas Tirith, and you know what? I'm expecting that. There's no way I could have stopped that, even if I attacked with Osgiliath last turn. I go ahead, yeah, and I bring all my Nazgul into Osgiliath. Oh, or maybe I don't. Yeah, this is what happens. I actually, you know, stay to my ground rules. I say, hey, I don't have any rings. I got nothing to do with this muster besides bringing units in. Let's bring in some Nazgul, since that's what we're going to be doing next turn. My opponent brings the north down, 1 away from war. So I was looking like, you know, a military victory is imminent. So I kind of have to change my focus a bit, mainly with this Minas Tirith army. This is what I'm most scared for, and that's why I mustered an Umbar, because this is, you know, what will be the end of the shadow if I just leave it there. You know, and that is a strategy for if a Free People has a big army like that. Sometimes you could just leave it, but you are going to need a lot of units just to be sitting by it, because they're going to be able to steamroll right into Mordor with it. Okay, let's see what I do here. Yep, we bring in the Nazgul, and I bring all 8 into Osgiliath because I have Cruel as Death, I have Dread and Despair, so I'm going to be forfeiting lots of that leadership in these battles against Strider and his army inside Minas Tirith, or I should say in the Pelennor fields. And then my opponent says, this is going to be pretty annoying, and we're going to place the Eagles Are Coming onto Osgiliath, the army that I just put in all of my Nazgul in, and rolls 2. So the Nazgul that I mustered are now gone. But hey, you know what? I'm happy I mustered Nazgul. And you have to retreat them into a Sauron stronghold. I wanted to bring them back into Umbar, but I have to bring them into Minas Morgul, which is fine. And now, yeah, I go ahead and I take Lozernark before he musters there to make things a little easier for me. I don't want to spend a whole die going there, and I'm going to need to bring Washarnor up anyways. Yeah, and I decide to keep Umbar in, and I'm going to bring in these 4 Nazgul into Osgiliath with movements. I think that's going to be a little bit more efficient than using another character die. Plus, it'll get another strength to its army, which is always good. Okay, so we are going into turn 7. You know, the benefit here, you know, with all the shenanigans the Free People did in Gondor, they have not been moving the Fellowship. It's turn 7, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movement outside of Rivendell. You know, looking back at this game after it's been played, maybe it would have been better for the Free People, you know, since they were revealed at 3, to go over the high pass. You know, it's not the end of the world to go over the high pass, and I think a lot of people do have a bit of tunnel vision of, you gotta go through Moria, you gotta go through Moria. Especially, you know, on the time you were revealed, you know, you were already able to kill Gandalf there, so maybe something to think about. I go ahead and I kill Stormcrow and Orcs Multiplying again. Those are both good cards. You know, Great Host is great. Orcs Multiplying again is great. But I don't want to kill the Ring Wraiths, the Day Without Dawn, Palantir of Orthanc, Gron, Cruel Weather, Return of the Witch King. They're all too good to discard. And my opponent gets the Imrahil Dol Hamroth and the Ents Awake. Okay, so I allocate one eye. I get one more in the box, and my opponent gets a will, so he's able to get Aragorn in Minas Tirith, which makes sense. I go ahead and bring the Nazgul into Osgiliath and my Oliphants up from Umbar.
A wizard is never late.
And then,
nor is he early. He
great
arrives
move
precisely
by my
when he
opponent
means.
is he uses a character to bring Gandalf from Fangorn into Minas Tirith, which is pretty devastating for me. Because now all of that Nazgul leadership I have in Osgiliath will not be effective against this Minas Tirith army. But I need to do something, alright? I still can't let that army sit there. If I get further into the game and don't do anything about that, they're going to be able to probably even take Dol Amroth back, or just plow their way north into either Mordor or Dol Guldur. I don't know. Something needs to be done there. So I'm thinking, well, we're gonna have to just go for gold here, and yeah, I attack Minas Tirith anyways from Osgiliath, and I do have Ringwraither Abroad. I usually don't use this effect, but the Words of Power, I can actually cancel Gandalf's ability in this first round. But they unfortunately played Brave Stand, so oh yeah, so yeah, I'm able only to roll 2 dice since they have 3 companions in this battle. But I do get 1 hit, and they get 1 hit back, so I was actually pretty lucky there. Let's see here. Yeah, I continue the attack. It's not in a stronghold, so I don't need to take a casualty. And then I play Swarm of Bats against Shield Wall. And I roll 3 hits, which is very lucky. They roll 4 hits back. And yeah, and then I stop there because I only have a 4-unit army, and I have a 6-unit army just south of it. But of course, you know, they're going to continue mustering in there. There's not much I can do to stop that. They do put in a regular and also a regular in the Woodland Realm in case I divert my attack. But no, I'm still focusing on Minas Tirith. Yeah, I decide to bring units up into Osgiliath, and I also have a 5-stack unit here in Peligir in case I need even more reinforcements. And they bring an elite into Minas Tirith, and then I go ahead, and this is just one of the biggest battles I've ever done in my 200 plus games of War of the Ring. So we're attacking. He plays Shield Wall, which is successful, gets 2 hits back on me. We are both at a 5 elite army on both sides, but he's got leadership and I don't. I get 0 hits and he gets 4 hits on this next round of combat, which is brutal for me. I reduce some elites, and now I'm going to need to get some more reinforcements here, but I don't have any movements. So I put a elite into Minas Morgul because, like I said, I can't just, you know, leave that Minas Tirith, especially now that Aragorn and Gandalf are there. Even if I spend all of my dice mustering and keep reinforcing it, if I can kill both Aragorn and Gandalf, it's going to be a good time. I have 2 Palantirs left, so I play the Palantir of Orthanc. He goes ahead and moves, and it gets hit. It's pretty unlucky getting hit on just the 2 dice there and rolling a 3, but both Legolas and Merry gets taken as a companion, and then they get a full 5 leadership army in Minas Tirith, which you hate to see, but here we are. The battle continues. So I have a Palantir, and I want to play a card, right? Because I have a Palantir of Orthanc, and my other cards I have are the Day Without Dawn, Grond, and Lure of the Ring, and those aren't playable. And so I always, you know, ideally you play Cruel Weather, you know, when the Fellowship is 1 away from getting into Mordor. But I do decide to play it now just so I can proc the Palantir, and, you know, they still get negatively affected by it, so. And I draw Flocks of Cremain. Alright, so we go into turn 8. I draw Hill Trolls and the Nazgul Strike, and they draw There Is Another Way and Help Unlooked For. Help Unlooked For is a very good card for doing military shenanigans, so let's see what happens. Fellowship roll, a nice 3 characters, a hybrid, and a muster with a Palantir. And the Shadows roll is not great. 1, 2, only 3 attacks, but I am looking for musters because I know I'm gonna need to continue attacking into Minas Tirith. They put in another elite. I go ahead and put my get a stack in Osgiliath. And now this is actually surprising for me. I thought they were going to continue with this battle with Aragorn and Gandalf, but they actually take all of their leadership out of Minas Tirith, which may have been a mistake. Maybe leave the hobbits in there. I don't know why he had to bring the hobbits, because now Minas Tirith has 0 leadership at all, even though it has a very, very sizable army. I do think having some leadership is important. So I take advantage and I attack it right away. And yeah, they just mustered an elite there for nothing, basically. Went right back into the reinforcements. But now I know Dead Men of Dunharrow is no longer a thing, so I'm pretty okay with having a very weak southern Gondor areas. But what I am worried about now is Paths of the Wozes. Even though Rohan's not at war, with all these units here, and I know he might be doing some more military stuff, I do got to watch out for that. So right now, I don't think this army will be able to take out this 5 elite army in Minas Tirith. I mean, it might, but I know I have some units in Mordor that I'm going to be able to reinforce it with, if need be. Alright, so they move while there's one eye in the box. They're safe. I play Hill Trolls, and I play it on Minas Tirith. Actually, with the Hill Trolls, I think, this army may be able to take on that army simply because it doesn't have any leadership. They move again, are safe. And yeah, now I play Grond on Minas Tirith. And, it's always a risk playing Grond because, if the enemy has a sizable army and they kill all of your units off, you can't just stop attacking in round 2. You got to do those 3 mandatory rounds, and I've been messed up by that many times before. But I've got a big army here. I think that'll last at least 3 rounds. So let's see what happens. I start with they are terrible, since I have 6 Nazgul strength. This will be nice, and I get 3 hits. They get 2 hits back. And then I play a Relentless Assault, which is a little risky, taking hits for added combat dice. But I do the same that I did in Dol Amroth. I just take 1 hit, since it's going to be a big battle. This is extra risky because we're playing with Grond here. So I need my health in this army, but I don't have any other cards to play right now. Day Without Dawn, Nazgul Strike, Lure of the Ring. I want to keep Lure of the Ring because the Fellowship is not doing too well, right? They're not even in Mordor. They've got 3 corruption and they're down to Gollum, and so all of the cards that I get that will give corruption, we're going to need to keep. But anyways, the 1 hit works out. I get an extra hit from it, so it goes 3 to 2. And now they've got 4 regulars versus my well, let's see, this is a 8-unit army, so I still have double the health, and so that's kind of a thought point for taking over strongholds in War of the Ring. If you have double the health of a army in a stronghold, things are looking pretty good for you. But of course, the fact that Minas Tirith had no leadership whatsoever is really crippling it right now. And I have no cards, and I get 2 hits, which is really lucky. They get 2 back. And then I go ahead and I press 1 more time, and no card, and I'm lucky again, and I get 2 more 6s, and I'm able to take Minas Tirith on a single Grond. Very, very lucky on my end, but I'm happy to get those 2 points. Plus, I had the Palantir of Orthanc there, so I got to redraw a card. I drew into a Isildur's Bane, which is really cool. And now they get rid of the Palantir of Orthanc, which is smart. You don't want me to keep drawing those cards. So I now play red tile. Now I got 2 red tiles in the pool, the used hunt tiles. And I know he's been taking tiles out, so red tiles are always more potent when multiple tiles have been taken out prior to Mordor. Alright, Alright, and now I've got some more musters, and I'm looking across the map here, and I gotta find out where my next points are. Alright, I've taken Gondor over, which is a total of 5 points. I can attack the Dew Line. I've started doing that. But as you can see, the north is one away from war. The Woodland Realm is also, I can just put in one more elite in there. That's going to be tough to take. So I'm kind of thinking maybe go for Erebor, and then also try to go into Helm's Deep. It's a little scary since they have these companions here. But just because they have the companions doesn't mean they have extra health here. It's still pretty weak Rohan army, and so I'm not going to let those companions scare me, and I do decide to start mustering in Isengard, and Orthanc specifically. And then, yeah, they see I do that, and then they bring Rohan down one. And then with my last attack die, I attack the Iron Hills from East Ruin to also prepare the attack into Erebor. And unfortunately, I don't get a single hit. I knew they didn't have a scouts because they used them all, but, you know, not getting a single 5 or a 6 and 5 dice is not very lucky. But I was pretty lucky in Minas Tirith, so, you know, that's why I said before, you know, this game has, you know, pretty equalizing amount of luck back and forth between the Shadow and the Free People. So there, one unit in Erebor gets to retreat into, the one unit in Iron Hills gets to retreat into Erebor, and my Mumakil army will lose a unit, but will go into the Iron Hills. And the dwarves still aren't at war, so everything is fine. Turn 9, I draw Morgul Wound, Musterings of Long-Planned War. Free People gets Riders of Theoden and Challenge of the King. Now another crazy roll here. 4 eyes in the box, or actually 5 eyes in the box. I rolled 4, and then the Free People get a good amount of musters and a character die. So in a turn like this, you know, when you're the Free People, you know, if you have an opportunity to capitalize on a Shadow's weak stronghold, it's always something you can do. But, you know, even though I have 2 less die than him, they are good dice, alright? A muster and then 2 hybrids, and so I can defend strongholds here. And the Free People will have to just continue with the Fellowship, and let's see what they do. Okay, the north comes down to war. Makes sense, you know, protect the Dew Line. I could attack into Dale right now with my Iron Hills army, since the north is at war and he's going to start mustering there. But do I want to do that? It's the question. So I end up passing. What I'm thinking is if I take over Dale, he can just muster up in the Woodland Realm, and he does have a fair amount of elves in the forest pool. And you know, I don't think I'm going to be going for Greyhaven's Lorien and Rivendell, simply because he's got a power 2 grade out. I could get rid of that pretty easily, so Lorien and Rivendell may be a possibility, but I pass. You know, and he does go ahead. What's he do? Oh, he brings Rohan down. Interesting. So, you know, it's kind of across the board right now. And, you know, these are not that much units at the Dew Line. You know, I only have the starting units in Dol Guldur and the starting units in the Runes. So, now that I can't pass anymore, I go on ahead and attack Erebor. And in my mind, I'm also thinking, hey, I could probably get the mouth. You know, everybody can get to war and get the mouth. It's kind of dangerous because once everyone's at war, he can obviously muster wherever he wants. But obviously the dwarves don't matter since I've got them all captured. Rohan may be an issue too, but we'll get there when we get there. Alright, he goes for the Fellowship, and I roll 3 6s. And I draw an eye. Love to see it, a 3 reveal. Big oof, as they say. And so now the Fellowship is really, really not looking good. 6 corruption, still has 1 more step to go. I play Lure the Ring to add 1 more corruption. And they go ahead and hide the Fellowship. Oh, and I start, I don't start, but I continue putting units into Orthanc. Thinking Rohan's going to be another 2 to 3 points for me. And then he uses a character to move his units from Fords of Eisen into Westamnet, which is very interesting. He didn't move. I can understand, since corruption's bad, and it's pretty obvious that he'll probably get revealed um, uh, if he were to move. So I can understand that. I wonder why he didn't move him directly back into Helm's Deep. I guess it doesn't matter in the end. And now I do use this die, this hybrid die, to muster yet again in Orthanc, because I know this is probably going to be a big battle, even though they only have 5 units, but they got Strider in there, and Rohan's, close to war. So I'm not messing around here. Let's get a full stacked army before we start attacking. And you know what? Let them run through Mordor. I got time as the Shadow, since the Fellowship is not doing that great. And sure enough, yeah, they move some units into Helm's Deep, and also the 1 unit from Old Forest Road into Dale. This is interesting now, because now I can use a single army die to move units into Old Forest Road and into the Fords of Eisen. Okay. We draw some cards. I draw Worn with Sorrow and Toil and Horde from the East. Worn with Sorrow and Toil is not great here, simply because all the companions are at the Fellowship. And the Free People draws Mural Galadriel, and they discard it. And also they drew Thranduil's Archers, and they killed that one too. That would have been pretty good for Woodland Realm. What else did they keep? Right of the Theoden, I can understand that, since Rohan is an issue. Challenge of the King has Sudden Strike, which is good. There's Another Way, Elven Rope, Ents. I guess, yeah, you want to keep 1 Ent card for a Rohan attack. Okay, so we both roll some rolls. I do not roll many eyes, which is I guess it's fine because they only got one space to go. The issue is I have the Nazgul Strike, and so I was hoping it could be a couple more so that there's a better chance of revealing them, because corruption's such a bad thing right now. I do have a Sealder's Bane that can also reveal them. But anyways, they use a Will of the West to move right away before I can put any Nazgul or anything like that on them. And they're safe, and they know I don't have Cruel Weather because I used it before, so they're fine there. I still use the Nazgul Strike here, because when I use it, I will put a Nazgul on them, so I'll get that reroll. And I shuffle them around, I think, and I put most of my 4 Nazgul Leadership in Orthanc, and then 1 in the going up to the Dew Line, and then 1 on the Fellowship. But of course, I roll a 2 and a 1, and so the Fellowship does not get hit, unfortunately. He goes ahead, puts a unit in Dale, which is fine. I guess it's not fine, but I honestly, at this point, I'm honestly giving up a little bit. I don't see how I can get reinforcements to Erebor. If I were to attack Dale with this Dol Guldur army, it's probably going to rip him to shreds, and I won't even have enough to get up there. So, we're talking 10 points. We got 5 in Gondor. We can get at least 2 here, so that's 7. I just need something in here. I guess, we're a little confused, but we're just rolling with the punches. Yeah, look at that. Get my final elite in Orthanc. They play Help Unlooked For, attacking into Erebor. And they get 3 hits, and I get 0 back. And I take out everything, all the regulars, because I want to keep that elite for conjoining armies. And they don't move anything in. So yeah, Dew Line's looking pretty good. So now we've got a movement. So I go ahead and I move all 6 elites out of Orthanc into the Fords of Eisen. I do worry about Ents, even if sometimes if it gets later in the game, you can just take everybody out and hope they use Ents and purposely kill Saruman so that they can't use the Ents card as a battle. But since I only have 5 points and I'm still unsure of where my last victory points, I really don't want to lose Saruman here. So that's why I leave some left over in Orthanc. And I think about where that last movement, yeah, I do a movement into Osgiliath because I got to watch out for Path of the Wolves. Rohan's almost at war, and it could be some bad consequences if Aragorn and an army can jump to Osgiliath and walk into Umbar. So make sure that doesn't happen. They pass. I go ahead and I attack Helm's Deep. Another option would have been to walk into Westamnet and try to take Edoras in the fold right away. I decided against it. I think it would be just more efficient to go into Helm's Deep, attack. If they start mustering in here, maybe I just won't go for Edoras, right? And I'll just try to get another 1 point either in the Shire or Dale. Okay, they pass. I attack Helm's Deep, so they did not muster in Rohan right away. Oh, and I should also say everybody's at war, so I can get the Mouth turn as well. So in the first combat in Helm's Deep, I do a Desperate Battle, and he does Huron Dark, which only makes me roll 2 dice. I get 1 hit, and he gets 3 back. Not great. When I take out units, I do focus on taking out elites, so that when I get reinforcement in Orthanc, I can get more of elites in. And then I stop there. I don't want to continue pressing because I know they're going to keep mustering up in Rohan, so I do need to keep this army sizable. My redraw is Olag High, love to see it. Mustering card is always good to see. They add a blue tile in, and we attack Helm's Deep again, and I do a Deadly Strife, and they have no card. And then I get 5 on the Deadly Strife. Always love to see that. And they get 4 back, but that doesn't matter. And I'm down to 5 regulars in Helm's Deep. And like I said before, I took out all the elites so that I'll have a good mustering power back in Orthanc for the future. And then I redraw into Shadows on the Misty Mountains. Alright, yep, and now he's starting to muster in Rohan. I bring in the Mouth into Moria. And some more Rohan mustering. And I was expecting this. A lot of times, if you try to go for all of Rohan and you're a little weak in the backside, they can find a way to flank around you and retake Helm's Deep. And so when you go for Rohan, you really have to completely flood them with attacks while they don't have much attacks and just take it all at once. Or what I sometimes do is just, do a head dive right into Helm's Deep and then just let them muster up. They can muster up basically everywhere in Middle-earth except for Gondor right now. They can go with the dwarves, the north, the elves, Rohan, and so it's kind of a free-for-all right now. And then with my last die, I do a Sealer's Bane, thinking that if I can reveal them here, that would be very good for me. But I only draw 1. It's better than an eye, so I'll take it. Alright, on to turn 11. And we get some nice rolls here. 2 eyes in the box. They only have 4 corruption until they're fully corrupted. So they're going to need to get lucky in Mordor here. Goes ahead and gets a elite in Edoras. I play Shadows on the Misty Mountains right away with the Palantir. I'm going to put some units in Moria, thinking about maybe taking over Lorien as an option or getting some reinforcements to the Dew line. It's kind of a stretch here, it's late in the game, so getting reinforcements from unusual places becomes more and more typical. Alright, and then he moves his units into Edoras, which is interesting, and also the dwarves from Eddard Luin down. Yeah, because the Shire can potentially be a target. I need 3 points, so I'm going to need a 2-point stronghold. And so what are the options here? There's Lorien, potentially Woodland Realm, but he's got a big army in Dale, which is scary. I could go for the Grey Havens area. None of them are really great options, so I think right now I'm thinking Lorien, but in the end, I'll show you what happens. I go ahead, put a unit in Druidan Forest to completely cut off Path of the Wolves, and I move into the Old Forest Road. They play the book, and they move Gandalf out, and a Hobbit and Fangorn, and then Aragorn goes with Edoras. I wonder where did that other Hobbit go? Is that in the casualties? Yeah, he must have killed Pippin somehow. So, let's see here. What we got going on here? So I tie into the Woodland Realm. I think, with this army, it's about the same size as Dale, and I would love for Dale to attack in a field battle, because I would rather not attack into Dale so they get that fortification bonus. Plus, if I could reinforce from the Withered Heath from the leftover Easterling army, potentially I could do a quick takeout of Woodland Realm. Plus, they were not able to get that 5th unit in there, so we're going to go for those 2 points and see what happens. Alright, so mustering up in Dale. Alright, bring one Isengard unit into Moria. And now they do a movement in Mordor, and they draw one of the blue tiles. Let's look at that hunt pool here really quick. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12. There's 13 tiles. All of them bad, but about 5 of them. And he drew the one blue tile. Lucky, lucky duck. So, I've got 2 muster cards in hand. I got half orcs, and I also got Olag High. I'm gonna put them both on the Woodland Realm, just like that. Now I got a sizable army take over the Woodland Realm, plus to defend in case Dale attacks. Move some Nazgul around. Let's see here. Yeah, so now he's mustering up in both these areas. And I do an attack on the Woodland Realm. And I play Orc Patrol here, which is, I know the corruption's really bad, but Orc Patrol has a very high chance of getting an eye. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 12. So, I could play the card and potentially there's a little less than 50% chance of absolutely nothing happening. Or I could play Cruel's Death on an army that has 7 Nazgul leadership. So I think that's why I use the battle part of the card. And sure enough, it does give me an extra hit, which is really good. He gets 2 back. And let's see here. We do another round. I play Relentless Assault, Day Without Dawn. Was it another risk right here? Showing Day Without Dawn, now he's not going to be worried about Will's Weth, but it's towards the end of the game. Chances of him rolling a lot of wills are low, and I don't have any other cards to play. And, just doing a straight tack, hitting on 6s isn't great. And so at least I can put 1 hit on Relentless Assault. I think this is like the 3rd time this game where I've done a Relentless Assault with just 1 hit. And sure enough, it gives me an extra hit. So I get 2 hits on him. He gets 1 back. And then I do a final press, and I get a little lucky again to get 2 hits to take Woodland Realm out all in one go. And I still have a 5-unit army, so now if Dale attacks, I will just go into a siege. And now I am at 9 victory points and just need 1 more to go. But where to get that point? That's the question. Okay, so turn 12, I draw the Fighting Uruk-hai, Wormtongue, the Free People, gets House of the Stewards, and Through a Day and Night. And starts by putting another blue tile in the pool. Oh no, actually plays Challenge the King first, and gets 1 eye out of there. I go ahead and play Shelob's Lair. They go ahead and play their blue tile. So now I got 3 red tiles in the pool. Well, they only got 1, so the hunt pool is still not looking great. As a sword action, so now I'm thinking, hey, I've got 5 attacks, and I need to get a point. And this is actually, I thought about this for actually a while, and could I win this turn? And I don't think I can. I really don't think I can, because the Free People has, technically they could have 4 musters here. So whether I try to go for the Shire, whether I try to go for Dale or Erebor, they 100% are going to muster at least 3 elites there, and we're just not going to have a good time. So what I think instead is we're going to wait till next turn. We're going to need to get some musters, and I think I'm going to go for Rohan, and I'm just going to muster back up an Orthanc to do an all-out attack on Edoras or potentially the Shire. But what do I do with these movements right now? I've got 3 characters. And the thought is as well, if in a desperation shot or he needs to, make the game go longer for either a military victory or for the ring, he could probably take the Woodland Realm back. I'm not going to keep all these now. I'll keep some of them there, but this Erebor army combined with this Dale army is huge, and it's more than enough to take back the Woodland Realm. So I'm thinking let's take these 5 units, bring them over to Dale, not necessarily to take over Dale, but just to keep the Woodland Realm. So my opponent though probably still thinks I'm gonna go for Dale. So he goes ahead and combines his units. I do a little bit of moving. Let's see here. He goes ahead and moves. And look at that. The second time movement through Mordor draws the second blue tile. Absolutely brutal. Entered in Mordor at 8 corruption, and now he's on the second, third step, with 1 less corruption. Oh yeah, look at that. 6 corruption right now. Crazy. And I continue the movement towards the dew line. He moves 1 unit into the Old Forest Road and buckling down. Then I go ahead and attack the Old Forest Road. Yep, just to protect the... If I get it, he doesn't get 1 back. So now I have a perfect 10 unit army if I combine these 2. But actually, I'm not actually planning on doing that. I think I'm going to keep this 5 unit army in the Old Forest Road and wait for Dale. If they ever do try to take back the Woodland Realm, let them put it under siege. And then, they're going to have to split their army if they want to protect Dale. So that's kind of the thought. And yeah, he does another muster in Dale. And now, now it's time to enact the actual plan of getting my 10th point and putting some units in Orthanc. Turn 13. Draw some cards. Roll some dice. I get the shadows moving. Dreadful spells. Love to see dreadful spells. That could be very helpful. And they get another Ant card and Path of the Woses. And now they're getting pretty close to dunking the ring here. They still need to be careful. The hunt pool is looking pretty bad. Of course, the first time they move, they get an eye while there's only one eye in the box. So that's really good to see for them. All right, let's see here. What do we do? So yeah, my roll had lots of musters in it. And so it's actually really good for me because the whole plan was to reinforce Orthanc to potentially take over Erebor or the Shire. They hide the Fellowship. I do another muster. I'm thinking ahead here. I will have enough musters to beef up Orthanc and then potentially take over Edoras. We could potentially combine it with this Helm's Deep army as well. So that's what I'm currently thinking. In retrospect, looking back on it after the fact, I do have enough movement to actually move my units out and go up for the Shire. So what's a better target here, Edoras or the Shire? The Shire, let's see, let's look at their force pool. Yeah, they don't really have any elites to bring there, so they would have to do movements to, bring Bree over, the Woodland Realm over, and then they would still have, 1, 2, 3, 4 elites, and several regulars. Only 1 leadership though, so I would need what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, that's a lot of movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movement And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so I would have been able to muster one more time. So it would have been a 4-4 army against a 4-4 army with one leadership. I decided to go for Edoras because, you know, if it does go bad, I can just muster up more reinforcements. But anyways, I haven't even made the attack yet, so yeah, they do Riders of Theoden. Again, so yeah, now that I've used this, you know, attacking the Shire isn't possible because I just don't have enough movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I need 6 to get there. Actually, no, wait. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, maybe just 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I guess I still could. Yeah, look at that. I guess, you know, I was counting the wrong areas. I could go from Orthanc to Gap Rohan to, oh boy, I have not said these areas' names before. Enedwatch, Waith to Minithirith to South Erdluin to the Shire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But anyways, we live and we learn. I go into the fords, prepping to attack Edoras. If I was to go for the Shire right now, what could he have done? He has 3 dice, so he could have marched in all of these units with the Will of the West and this, so that would have made a total of a 4-4 army. I have a 5-5 army, and then he has a muster where he could have gotten either one more regular or one more leader. So I could, but he would have had to move these over, and then I could have taken out the Grey Havens. So, you know, if I could go back in time, maybe I would have gone for the Shire. But this makes the game. I love the big battles, so yeah, I move everybody out of Orthanc. If he wants to take out Saruman, let it happen. You know, we've got Nazgul leadership coming to the rescue here. Yep, he goes ahead and musters and right, and yeah, and I'm trying to sweat here. You know, I guess you know I should have planned this out too. You know, the force pool for Rohan had lots of elites in it, and here we go. We're gonna have a very even army, 5-5 versus 5-5, because I need to get these Nazgul in here. I can't attack right now. There we go. Yep. Yeah, he puts a leader in. And now I go ahead and I play Dreadful Spells. I get 1 hit on Edoras. And now time for a big battle in Edoras. If I win this, I win the whole game. I start off with a Swarm of Bats to cancel his confusion. And I get 1 hit. And he gets 2 back. Alright, the first round didn't go great, but it could have been worse. Next one, he plays Ent's Rage, adds 2 on his, and I get Foul Stench, so his reroll is canceled. But yeah, I get a whopping 0 hits, no 5 out of the 10 dice, and then he gets 4 hits. So that kind of takes me out of it, but I still want to continue the attack. I don't want to dwindle my army down to nothing, but I want to keep attacking while he doesn't have that fortification bonus. But I go no card, and he plays Sudden Strike, gets 2 hits, and yeah, 3 and 3, and so now I'm down to 4 units, and so I have to stop there. And hopefully I can just put in some reinforcements on Orthanc and attack again next turn, since he doesn't have anything in his reinforcements. So here we go, on to turn 14. Fellowship's best chances are to dunk the ring, military victory. He could theoretically move his Lorien army into Moria and this Big Dale army into Dol Guldur. That would take a couple turns though, and the reason that he really can't do that is because this army's got to stay there because I will get to 10 victory points, and if the Fellowship has 4 and the Shadow has 10 at the end of turn, the Shadow still wins. So, a good way of avoiding a Free People military victory is just to get points yourself as a Shadow. Alright, so yeah, the Free People get this roll with lots of characters and a Will of the West. And they go ahead and decide they're just going to probably go all in to try to dunk the ring. So they use the Will of the West to draw a card. Hopefully they can get a corruption saving card. The cards we drew this turn, I got the Black Captain Commands and the Many Kings. Free People got I Will Go Alone and Gwahir. Unfortunately, I will go and won't do anything. We talked at the end of the game. They did not draw really any of their corruption saving cards like Athelis, Bilbo's Song, anything like that, which is unfortunate. I also go ahead and draw a card simply because I know they're going to go all out. So if I can find a card that can flip another hunt tile, anything like that, it would be good. So they move here and they get Shelob. Oh boy. Well, it is unlucky to draw Shelob. I will say that I did have 3 red tiles in there. Plus the first 2 movements were blue tiles. So luck necessarily wasn't on my side for the whole entire Mordor run. And I roll a 5, which is brutal, but they are still 1 away from death if they reveal with Gollum's ability. But that does not matter because I have the handy dandy Morgul blade that I'm able to stab into Frodo's chest and murder him while climbing Mount Doom. And we get the GGs and finish the game. Absolutely magnificent game, though, you know, with huge 10-stack armies, big battles in Gondor, lots of thinking, you know, figuring out what's best. Very complex game, but I really do think both sides here, we played a really, really good game. And that's what I always like to see, you know, where, you know, it does end up coming down to, you know, the roll of the die, but you know, it's a lot of fun trying to navigate these armies to get you to the best outcome. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.